Hi everyone, my name is Lily Cicero, and I'll be talking about food insecurity and reducing the risk in Putnam County. First, I would like to talk about why is food necessary. Food supplies the nutrients that our body needs for vital processes as well as growing, repairing, and maintaining tissue. A reduced dietary intake is one of the top 4 factors leading to malnutrition, which is an imbalance of nutrients. When the body does not have enough nutrients, it doesn't have enough energy and it begins to break down tissue, muscle, and fat. It also stops certain functions to save energy, which impacts every organ system. Long term malnutrition can lead to very severe changes in the body. I have listed some of them out, but some of the more important ones is reduced cardiac function, reduced renal function. It changes the gastrointestinal system. There's an increased risk of infection, mental health effects, and it impacts clinical outcomes negatively. The leading method to preventing malnutrition is a well-balanced diet with carbohydrates, protein, fat, and enough calories to support the body. Another method is to screen and identify at-risk individuals and provide an early intervention, which would help improve outcomes. Now, let's talk about food access and insecurity in the United States specifically. So, food access is the barriers that impact the ability to obtain healthy food. Food insecurity is the social and economic conditions of limited and or indeterminate access to acceptable foods. If low food access is present, it is likely that food insecurity is also present and vice versa. In 2023, 96% of United States households reported that they could not financially afford balanced meals. Let's dive a little deeper and look at Putnam County, Tennessee. Out of the 1 million food insecure individuals in Tennessee, about 13,000 live in Putnam County. Putnam County's specific food insecurity rate is 16.4%, and unfortunately, 41% of that are above the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program threshold, which means that 41% of food insecure individuals in Putnam County do not qualify for the program to receive aid. That is a very large gap. The majority of Putnam County is also low income and or has low food access, which means that these individuals are at an increased risk for food insecurity and in turn malnutrition. Now, food insecurity puts you at risk for malnutrition, but malnutrition also puts you at risk for food insecurity because it increases the risk of poverty through the impacts on physical, mental, and financial health. Those impacts lead to a lower productivity, which impacts economic potential and leads to an increased risk of food insecurity. This creates a harsh cycle that is very difficult to work out of, and unfortunately, a lot of individuals and households remain in the cycle. Now, let's talk about some strategies that I came up with to reduce the risk of food insecurity. First, I came up with a nutrition education program. Education programs provide practical skills, knowledge, and resources to put individuals in charge of their own health. Libraries are essential to the community, with Tennessee libraries welcoming 21 million visitors in 1 year. Libraries were essential to food distribution during the COVID-19 pandemic, and some libraries made the programs permanent because they were so successful. So I am proposing hosting a new education series at the Putnam County Library focusing on low budget and healthy recipes. While Putnam County Library does have a lot of programs, there is not yet a consistent nutrition program. This new program would partner with local dietitians, restaurants, etc., to create a rotating schedule of volunteers to teach the program every week. It would be funded by local sponsors, but would be free to all participants. My next strategy is emergency food boxes. There are programs in Putnam County that provide emergency food, but they often require appointments or only serve certain demographics, such as families with children. There really needs to be a program to fill the gap and provide emergency food to anyone who needs it. One study showed that 100% of respondents said emergency food boxes were helpful, with one going so far as to say it was the best thing they ever received. This program would be offered bi-weekly with the aim of providing shelf-stable essentials while also supplying at least one item from each major food group. The contents of the boxes would ideally come from donations and partnerships with local businesses and organizations. For example, if a local farm has vegetables with visible defects that they can't sell, they could donate them to this program because they are still safe for consumption. Partnering with local churches and volunteer groups would provide the hands and the locations to assemble and distribute the boxes. My next idea was a school-based food pantry program. School-based food pantries are permanent pantries housed in a school that distribute food to children and their families as needed. According to some research done in rural Tennessee, these programs are well accepted by participants, and the participants have a positive perception because the pantries help feed the entire family and not just the child that is enrolled at the school. However, schools don't have the budget or staff to execute this, so local dietitians would have to get involved. They could take point and form partnerships locally to help fund the pantry, but volunteers would still be necessary to help keep the pantry stocked and clean. My last strategy was to increase knowledge of local resources. One qualitative study that I found asked participants how to strengthen a program, and there were multiple responses included that increasing communication about the program would be beneficial. Increasing awareness of available programs is a good way to help increase participation and help those who need it the most. A scoping review I found said that anticipated stigma was the most common deterrent for program participation. So, providing more information about resources through social media and the internet could help individuals who are too scared to ask for help because they would not have to ask for information in person and could find it themselves. It would also be beneficial to compile a list with contact information for local programs to display in schools, healthcare settings, libraries, and grocery stores to help increase the awareness of programs that are already available. Because sometimes when people need help, it's just a matter of finding the right resources. So, having a list with all of the available resources in a place that they commonly go could be very beneficial and help a lot of people. And these are my references.